The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the trading room this morning. Before we get started, I would like everyone to let me know first that you can hear me and that you can see my screen, and then take just a moment to read over the disclaimer. This is for your protection as well as my protection. And basically, you should never trade with money you cannot afford to lose. Okay. Trading, any type of trading, whether you're trading futures, forex, stocks, options, or binaries, will involve risk. Okay. Today, I will be using a demo account if I take a trade. And I do want to remind you that I am not here to call trades for you. I am here to show you how the indicators work. This is an educational webinar. Okay? And if that's not what you're looking for, then I apologize, but I'm not in the business of calling trades for everyone else. Okay? Okie doke. We're going to get started this morning, and you can see I have my Ninja Trader screen open. I do have two market analyzers here, one on the 3-minute and one on the 12-minute. I also have a 3-minute that has the trend indicator on it, also has the ATR support and resistance, as well as the stochastics and the directional volume indicator. On the 12-minute chart, I have the trend indicator, the ATR support and resistance indicator, the stochastics, the directional volume, as well as the ADX. And then over on the right-hand side, I have a 45-minute chart that has just the trend on it, the ADX and the stochastics, and then at the bottom is a 180-minute chart. The 180-minute chart has the trend, the stochastics, and the ADX. Because I have everything in the market analyzer, I can also simply click to have all of my charts change at one time. So as you can see, when I clicked on the Dow, we changed over to the Dow instrument. Okay. Now, it does take a while to load this volume because I have a lot of back data on here. So just want to make sure everybody is aware of that. Now, all of my entries are at an ATR, okay? The ATR is the plus sign that you see on these charts. Now, on the ATR support and resistance indicator, it plots the ATR from the higher time frames. So for example, on the 12-minute chart, there we go, we can see that we have a cyan and just a plain red color. That is the ATRs from the 12-minute chart. Then we have a white ATR and a white dot. This is the information from the next time frame up, or the 45-minute chart. We then have the blue dot in the blue ATR. That is from the 180-minute chart. And then you get a red ATR, and there's also a red dot, and that would be from the next higher time frame, which in this case would be a 720-minute chart. Does everyone understand that? Any questions on that? Now, again, all of my entries come at an ATR. And notice the column here that says price to the ATR, and it tells me price is at an ATR. So immediately I know that I need to go and check out that potential chart. In this case, you see it's on a 3-minute. It tells you that right here on the tab. And when I go and look at this, I can already tell you that right now you have price trying to break through this ATR, but also notice that your white and your red ATRs are against each other. The red ATR is above price. Let me change the color of that. The red ATR is above price. The white ATR currently is below price. It is trying to break it because it's trying to plot up here. This is probably not an entry I want to take right now. Immediately I would know I'm not really interested in that. My time frames are not aligned like I want them to be. So I'm going to wait on the next one. Does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? Now, since we don't have anything else at an ATR, we can go and we can actually look at the forex, and I'm using multi-charts. And we don't have anything at an ATR currently. We are potentially going to get a magenta peak on the US CAD 240. That's the one I'm waiting on. What I would like to see on that particular one would be for this ATR to actually flip. And this is the blue ATR. I want it to flip and come down here. Then I want price to come back and test this white ATR, which will probably be about here. When that happens, I would be interested in taking a trade because more than likely it will come to this ATR. Okay, this is just the way it plays the ATRs. So right now, especially with it being overextended on the stochastics, I'm expecting it to come back. When it comes back, that's when I'm interested in it. Stock divergence on the 15 Canadian. You don't have stochastics divergence right now. I mean, you're making higher highs. You're making higher highs in the stochastics. You're making higher highs from over here. You're making higher highs in the stochastics. It's not divergence. You did have divergence on the lows, if that's what you're talking about. Yes, on the lows there is divergence. That's a trend divergence. And it normally, especially with this ADX being at, it was, I think at one time, around 75 this morning. Normally you're going to see the trend divergence on the lower time frame line. That would be typical. But do you also see how you're getting divergence in the volume, and it tells you that here? It also tells you you just made a pivot low. These are typical indications that this is going to kick off that retracement. Does that make sense to you, Mike? Now, the other one, I mean, that you can look at would be the Aussie dollar. It has an ADX value of 85, also oversold. But on this one, I would just be waiting for it to come up here and say ATR, okay? And then I would be going into this short trend on the 60-minute. You're lost? Okay. You are making lower lows on the stochastics, on price, you're making higher lows in the stochastics. That's trend divergence. So that was telling me that more than likely this would go up. Okay? Now, because that said you were going to go up, by itself is not enough. But the fact that you were overextended, the magenta peak was coming in, you had long divergence here, you had just made a pivot low, and this is on the higher time frame here. All of that said, more than likely it will go up. Does that make sense to you now, Mike? Yes, it's a very, very powerful indicator. I want to go look at the ES, and I'll move this over for a moment. Just had a reversal bar here. Now on this one, there is a couple of ways that you can actually trade this. You've got the 12-minute, excuse me, you have the 12-minute above price, the blue and the red. Now, what you can do is go in and trade this on the ES, but you can also come over and do this on the indices binaries as well. And in this case, I'm going to use an 11 a.m. I'm going to see what they are, okay? Right now, price is at 26.40. So I'm willing to go to 26.38, okay? Now, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and set a target on this because I get distracted very easily. So I'm going to set a target at 15 on the binary. Now, I'm not going to worry about the binary at this point, okay? And the reason that I'm not going to look at the binary at this point is I have already limited my risk to right at $30, okay? We're just going to call it $30, all right? So I'm not worried about this. I can't lose more than $30 a contract. Does everybody understand that? Now, over on the future side, really kind of want to set my stop above these ATR levels if possible. I do think it will come down and at least take out this white dot, especially because we're at an ATR over here and we're moving down over here. The only thing I don't like over here is the fact that the stochastics is overextended. That could take a while to play out though. Let's see. So now you have a stop loss at 26.45.25, at least expecting it to take out 26.38. The maximum on the binary, Mike, would be 71.75, but I actually put in a target $15 at $15. So no, it would not be maximum gain of 71 unless you let it expire. I generally do not let it expire. Any other questions on that? Now let me shrink this down some so we can see if there's anything else. And I'm going to take, don't want to do that. We'll just stick with this one right now. I'm also watching the forex as well. And what I'm watching is price at the ATR. If it pops up and price is at an ATR, I immediately go and look at that market. And you can see this is approaching the ATR, not quite there yet. Now, in the meantime, while I'm looking at that, I'm also kind of glancing at my other charts. And my other charts being a 15, a 60, and a 240. What I do not like about the euro dollar is that you are very close to the congestion dot over here. Okay. And that just simply tells me that it very well could come back and test this ATR. In addition to that, you're also getting a reversal bar over here on the 60 minute. Okay. And this is your potential reversal bar here. This made an isolated low. So far, this is going to close above the high of that. Not where I would want to enter, actually. I do have a lot of screens going off at the moment, so let's put this one back. You can, let's see, the USD CAD does have the magenta peaks. Now I'm getting interested in the Aussie dollar because we're getting that magenta peak. What does that mean? That means we should retrace back to here. And if we come back to 76.33, that's where I'm looking for an entry on the binaries. So I'm going to pull that off and we'll keep an eye on this one. You can see you're not moving very much over here on the ES. Yes, Mike. Now on the Aussie dollar, I am already looking to see what type of binaries are available on the Aussie dollar. Um, at 6 a.m. on a 15-minute chart, Mike. You're talking about right here. That's hidden divergence. Yeah. You had actually two on that one, Mike. Yeah. You had two entries, I'll put it that way. This was your reversal bar that kicked off the magenta peak, Mike. This is your hidden divergence with the reversal bar here that kicked off the hidden divergence. And yes, it is very sweet when it does that. Benny, I am recording it. Well, you're kind of, you want two indications, Mike. And this is where sometimes people get confused. All right, you could have an ADX peak with hidden divergence, okay? You could have volume divergence with hidden divergence. You could have volume divergence with a magenta peak. Do you get the idea, Mike? Everything comes in pairs, okay? It's a good way for you to understand it. It comes in pairs. In this case, I would not, because this was a magenta peak on the 60-minute, and I know that. And then you had the hidden divergence confirming that the magenta peak was going to play out. Okay. Could you look at it? Yes, there was volume divergence on the 60-minute, but again, you want two indicators telling you exactly the same thing. Remember, the ATR tells you where the support and resistance is located. Okay, the two indications, for example, the hidden divergence in the magenta peak, that tells you, okay, now it's fixing to fall. Do you understand that, Mike? Now, the one thing I'm not liking on the Aussie dollar at the moment is the stochastics on the 60-minute is oversold. And you're getting volume divergence. That could change in the next 40 minutes. No, I don't always use it. And again, it's because I'm looking for two confirming indications that price is going to move, in addition to, for example, the reversal bar. Exactly, Mike. Because at some point you're going to keep waiting and keep waiting and keep waiting, and you've missed the move, okay? Okay, the Dow 3-minute is now at the ATR. You can see that over here. So I'm going to switch over to the Dow real quick. And we're going to pull that off for a moment. This one I'm not going to take on the future side. I'm going to take it on the option side. And the reason is I don't like the higher time frame on this one as much. The ADX is at 65, so you may not get a big move. You're also almost to the point of being overextended here, and there's a potential here for trend divergence. Okay, so this is one I would take on the binary side, not the future side. We'll go 10 to 12. This is where it's currently trading. So I'm going to go down to 261 because I don't want to risk a lot on that one. Okay. Because that one you very well could get, you could have a loss on that one. Okay. Only because of this ADX being at 65 and almost at the point of being overextended and potential trend divergence. But if this bar continues, it will not be. I would actually prefer to see this retrace back to the white ATR. We'll have to wait and see though. Right now it's coming back to the ATR at 2639. Bonnie? Let's see. Yes, 2639. That's where I would anticipate it to go. And normally I don't run a large stop, but I know this is at the ATR over here, so it may bump it again. Let's see the Dow. And again, on the Dow, I am going to set a target on that one. Target is going to be at 15. I generally do the same thing all the time. And that just lets me know where the binary is on the Dow. Now, Mike, remember I said we have potential trend divergence? Do you see that green dot? That just confirmed the trend divergence on the Aussie. I'll put that in yellow to distinguish it from the other reds on the chart. Now we should be going lower on this because this is hidden divergence. So it should actually go lower. Let's see if it does. On which one, Mike? Price is making lower lows. Connect the red dots for the lows. There's your trend divergence. My dog is howling. It is not me. Here, lower highs, higher highs. There's your hidden divergence. You also have a divergence here because these are equal to one another, and yet price did not come back or exceed that high. Just things to notice on your chart. Where am I projecting what to go, Lewis? The Dow, I think it will take out this low here at 24,240. If the hidden divergence plays out. I don't use a 3-minute mic. People get too excited over a 3-minute chart on forex. By the time you allocate for pip spread, you won't make the money. You have to allocate for pip spread on spot forex if you're trading spot forex. No, there's a loose dog in the yard. It's in the neighborhood. So he's aggravating my dogs. And notice that right now there's nothing in the market analyzer under the ATR. So there's no reason to look at another market if you are not at an ATR. Does everyone understand that? In order to stay with the trade on the ES, you really need it to break through this ATR at 2639, preferably break through the congestion dot at 2638. Okay? Now, I'm going to go get me a cup of coffee, and I'm going to move this over here so if the order gets filled, you can see it, and I'll be right back, okay? Okay, I'm back. The Aussie has not been close enough to the ATR for me to enter a trade on that one. This is the ATR on the 60-minute chart on the British pound dollar. However, the 240 is saying that more than likely it will come up to this ATR. Again, I don't want to get in that one. Let's get a look at crude real quick. Again, you just wait for it to pop up, price at the ATR. And let me move this out of the way. This is one I will not take because of this ADX. This more than likely is going to come back to 57.33, and I would wait for it to get here before I entered a trade. And again, this is why you look at this and you can see the ATRs are aligned in your direction. The issue is you're overextended here. So the moment that you go in, you're probably going to go down. Additionally, you have trend divergence there because you're making higher highs and lower highs in the stochastics. It's not a trade that you really want to take. Does everybody understand that one? You are also at a congestion dot over here. Typical price behavior is it will go to the congestion dot, come back and test the ATR. You don't want to get caught in that, okay? It's not enough room for a short from me, Mike. I mean, you basically got 20 ticks. I would want more than 20 ticks potential. And I haven't been trading crude a lot because it's not moving as much as what it used to move. Lewis, yes, it does. I upgraded to the latest version of NinjaTrader. I'll have to send you new templates. You just got stopped out of the ES. I heard it in the microphone, or in the headphones. Lewis, yes, it does work. You do have to do the latest version of NinjaTrader, and then I have to send you new templates. Okay, now the Dow is back at the ATR. As you can see, it is currently breaking through the red ATR. This is the ATR from the 45-minute chart. You can also see that we had a wide bar here on the 45-minute. Typical price behavior is that it will retrace that amount. And let me check something on here. You do have a magenta peak on the 12-minute right now, which is going to push it up to this ATR. Let's go see what the NQ is doing this morning. Let's go back and look at crude at the ATR. It's within 6 ticks of the 3-minute ATR. And again, I would wait for this to come down to this ATR. I'm not interested in a 20 tick move. Would prefer the white and the blue to be aligned versus the cyan and the white. This is just telling you that this is at an ATR on the 45-minute chart. You would anticipate that to come down to the ATR here. The ATR on the 12 may hold. Typical price behavior is it will come down to the blue ATR on the 45-minute chart. I don't follow your statement, Mike. Between the 3-minute ATR and the 12-minute ATR? Yeah, the 3-minute ATR is at 57.46. The 12-minute is at 57.35. But it should actually come back to the 57.09 on the 45-minute chart. That would be typical price behavior. I'll put it that way. You got a magenta peak on the 12-minute Dow chart. That just indicates that it should retrace back to this ATR at 24,336. It's been within about 10 ticks of that so far. You're at the almost at the ATR here at 63.34. You should be getting a retracement pretty quickly. Yeah, it does, Mike. This is fixing to come down on the NASDAQ, I believe. Now that one has 74 ticks back to the ATR, Mike. The NASDAQ, I believe, is fixing to come down. It's going to come down to this ATR more likely than not, maybe lower. And I'm trying to time it to get into it, which is why I'm quiet. But there's 78 ticks right now on that. See, on the Dow, you've only got 20. But on the NASDAQ, there's a lot more room back to this ATR. Now, I believe that this ATR is going to hold price. So I am going to sell this one. I might be wrong, but I'm going to do it. If this market retraces back to this ATR, you're also going to get a magenta peak over here, which will push it down hopefully to around 62, 6300, 6290 to 6300. Over on the 12-minute chart, I really want that bar to close down, and I want sellers to maintain control of it. You can see that they're in it now with the directional volume indicator. Now, in addition to this trade, also have a 20-minute binary going off on this. The binary is at 63.31. There is a target set at 10. It's about $40 away at the moment from the profit target. And it should be making a magenta peak over here on the 12-minute as well. We may be able to see it here first, though. And basically, if you take out the low of that bar, which is just about that line, if it goes below it, it will give you a magenta peak on the ADX. You are overextended on 3 different time frames to the long side. When I actually entered the trade, whether you noticed it or not, we were overextended here, and overextended here. You saw that sellers stepped in on that bar. They also stepped in on that bar. You saw it over here on the 12-minute as well. Very close to the 20-minute binary. Profit target being filled. Profit target being at 10. You're currently at 11.75. And it's filled. I'd really like to see sellers stepping in stronger here. I don't want to see it bounce up from this area. Okay, I'm going to exit that one because it's probably going to come back and retest this high. You can't see it right now because it hasn't plotted, but what it's doing is going back and testing the ATR here, which coincides with that high. I'm not willing to wait for it. You can also see that the stochastics is overextended. And again, not something that I'm willing to wait on. I'd rather just go ahead and lock in the profits. Any questions on that, guys? We do have the ES back at the ATR again. Do not like the fact that we're at the congestion dot over here on the 45-minute. You can see that here, 26.48.50. Let's go look at crude again. When I see the blue and the white like this, immediately I know I don't want to take a trade. So that one's pretty easy. Any questions so far, guys? If the NASDAQ comes back to an ATR, I would re-enter it. Just don't want to go into it at the moment. I really want it to go back to that ATR, test it, and then I would re-enter. Somewhere right about the area that we entered before, 63.40, between 63.40 and 63.33. So, any questions? Okay, if there's no questions, I hope you enjoyed the presentation this morning. I'll be back. I think it's next week. I have another one. And then I'll be off for Christmas holidays. Any questions? All right, everyone have a wonderful day.